statuses, things like that. Or I can go ahead and run a records list report as well. So what I'm going to do is actually, instead of, I'm going to run this one of two ways. One, I'm going to run a live PDF package report while everyone else is still working, maybe a kind of a timestamp version, and run this once a week or twice a week, whatever it may be. And I'm basically going to pull in all 4 of those files into one cohesive package with a cover page report that I can then review and hyperlink and see all that information as if it were real time. So you'll see it's a package report. The documents are all living inside of this folder, and anyone with PDF software can open this file. And then I have the cover sheet, or basically the meeting minutes, if you will. It's a virtual conference room at this point. Date and time that this was run, who was attending, what documents were included, and then all these line items are actually hyperlinked to those particular spots. So if you'll remember the nice smiley comment that I had, which I believe got deleted, which is all right. But if I click on it, oh, it's there.
Oh, it's just smiley there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was the one you deleted.
No, it's deleting highlights.
Gotcha.
The E.
So it will take me right to that spot, and this will be kind of your archive at that point of what happened in that live environment. So the other option, since I have these all basically checked out of the project, but say our review cycle is complete at some point, I can go ahead and actually finish this particular session. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to overwrite the existing. So again, these were still pulled from a studio project, from a document management system. I want to basically overwrite those, pull those commentary items over, and then include them in the historical at that point, see a new revision, if you will. I'm also going to generate a report. I'm going to, I'll just leave it there for now. Go ahead and click OK. It's going to generate that report for me, the same process that you saw before, but now it's going to kick everyone out. And I also have the option to expire this at any particular time. If I don't have to be here to expire it, I can say, I want this to end at Friday at 5 p.m., whether I'm here or on vacation somewhere, and it will do that for me. So as I click OK, you'll notice that these are still checked out. I can go ahead and open any one of these. In fact, they're open across the top. All of that markup information, including Tammy's nice smiley face here, are all included. And if I'm done with all of these, I can go ahead and check them back in. So review, maybe call it 50% review complete. Check in. And you'll see here in a second, once my beautiful internet finishes up, those will uncheck and basically be unlocked for everyone's to come in and review as well. Questions at this point?
You finished the first PDF, you wanted to go back to the run report again?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that report capability is as much or as little as you want to know. So, questions? Yeah. So if once it's uploaded to Studio Project, you can still run that batch hyperlinking and all of that, and that's not an issue because assuming you're able to check them out. So if it's a file that's you're locked as a read-only person, it's indeed you're not going to be able to run that information. But assuming that you're able to do that, you can still run those hyperlinks. Now, once it says session, and we'll say session because it's such a live environment, you're not able to strip out or change the content of the page because that would kind of defeat the purpose. You want it to kind of be a static environment for everyone to come in and make commentary. So, no, you're not able to make hyperlinks once it's in a session. The project, yes.
When you got a session there, let's say you updated all the drawings for that week, and now you want to create another session. You're going to see in the next week, over a 4-week project.
Yes.
Every week you're going to update that. You have to resend the email every time?
Yes. Now, I will say that invite process becomes much easier once you set up groups and permissions that can all be pre-populated. And so, yes, it would need to be at that point, it actually needs to be a brand new session. If you're uploading, a Rev 1s of your files that you just had a session on Rev 0s, you're going to want a brand new session kind of since the beginning, I would assume. that's how I would workflow it. But yeah, now if you're just adding files to an existing session, you don't have to send me resend an email. It will. You just log in, you'll see that hey, there's more files than there were last time. That's
There's no
totally
way for the team to access the session from the project, if they have access to the project also.
Yes, they will actually see. I'll just pull up the file real quick just so you can see it. I'm just going to put this to a demo session here. If I leave this session and hop back into my project, you'll see that there's actually a little signifier that says that that's live in a session right now, and they can go ahead and double click on it. They'll see it in read-only mode, or they can right-click and say join that particular session. So that gives them the option as well.
So you're not sending out emails?
Correct. Yep.
The location of those attendee groups, is that a C drive location or is that something associated with the project? Like, can you
So,
export those groups?
I don't believe so. So you can create all these groups and things, and it does have Active Directory where you're able to pull in your company emails, but it's not going to pull in any sort of email grouping that you have in your Outlook.
I was at more like cashier or something. Like if there was a group that use all the time, would somebody else think the same group and not having to go in there?
I don't believe so, no. Question?
What happens if one of the attendees saves during the meeting process, but you're the manager of that section? They can just save as because they're using access, or?
You can actually restrict that. So you have the option within a session to, maybe I'll just put that down in the session here. You can come into the settings and actually only allow people to, you can like disallow save as, but allow people to mark up in live time. So they can't save a local copy at that point, but they can come in and mark up with you. In fact, if you have consultants or external parties that don't have seats for review, they can download the free viewer. You can invite them in. They can mark up just like they would in a full version of the review, but they will only be able to do it in the live environment. So it gives them the ability to participate just like they would without the restriction of having to buy that seat to be able to participate. Yeah, go ahead.
That email, that invitation, that session invitation, is there any other ways to customize that? Because, we kind of just like jump in with sending the clients and then they can jump in.
Right, and that's, there is the ability to set an email template, for example. So I can send a message saying, hey, this is Nick, and like we talked about, here's the invite to the studio session, that type of thing. But it will still have that same formatting, and it very well could end up in their junk folder if their junk folder is very restricted for whatever it may be. So that's just something to be aware of. But no, you're not able to. Now the other option, if you really want, instead of going through that process, is just copy the session ID. So I can just copy this invitation. It's literally going to copy that invite. And so I'll just go into that real quick. Yeah. So starts. Here we go. And I can go ahead, Control V. It says you've been invited by Nick Decker. Here's the link. If I click Enter, they literally just need that hyperlink, and it can be in your regular email as well. Yeah, my session is literally named period, so it would have the name of the session ID.
Now, is this only on Extreme, or is it in...
So all of the studio stuff that I've shown is all three versions.
Okay.
So standard, CAD, and Extreme. And like I mentioned, if you need people to join a particular session or a review process, they don't have to have a paid seat. You can invite them as a view user, which is our view viewer, basically. Yeah.
With the free version, they still need an account?
Yes, so they will need to create an account under
Your standard email template should probably indicates something about, hey, you need an account, because it's kind of confusing. The very first time you get something like that, it's never been involved.
Gotcha. Okay, there, I will say there
All of
is,
a sudden,
go ahead.
it comes up and you're going, okay,
What is
your
this?
password? Got my email address in it, but I don't know password.
Gotcha.
So it might be just helpful to add that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's actually a really good suggestion. It has a link in the invite email saying, you know, if you don't have a review, here's the link to download a review and be able to do so. But yeah, to your point, if you don't have a studio account at that point, it may be a little bit confusing. But something new. All right, everyone relatively comfortable in studio. It's something I could dive into for hours, but we'll fit in 20 minutes. So from this point, I'm going to move into just tags and drawing log, and then we'll cap it off with as well. So for those of you that use the sets feature of review, I applaud you, but those of you that don't, basically what it is, it allows you to work with a sheet set. A lot of times it's all individual files, and you can have, you know, a dozen or 1,000, it really doesn't matter, and make it function as if it were one cohesive drawing set. And it's not going to bog the computer down because it's not a 1,000-page drawing or one file. It's kind of very lightweight, but still kind of categorizes and organizes all that information for you. So I'm going to go ahead and show how to set one of these up. And so I'm going to run through just starting a brand new set here. And I'm just going to add a folder of information here. So I'm going to pick my original architectural files, pull those in, and I'm going to add my electrical files as well. So a couple dozen files at this point. And again, these are all Rev 0, it's kind of my baseline file set. And before I go ahead and click OK, I'm going to come into my options. And this gives me the ability to kind of sort and filter all that information that I'm pulling in. So maybe I want my architectural files to show up ahead of my electrical files, and I want my general files to show up at the top, that type of thing. So you have that ability to kind of come through and categorize all that information. Now the new aspect of this, a lot of times within the title block itself, on a drawing is a lot of really, really important information. Who drew it? What date was it released? And all of that stuff needs to be kind of harnessed in its dumb information when it's content of the PDF. So being able to pull that out is really critical. So I'm going to start with sheet name and sheet number, pull those out. Revision number will kind of default to 0 because these are my originals. I'm also going to pull in, because these are standard AA documents, the nice enough convention, naming convention, I'm going to pull in sheet discipline and type automatically based on the sheet number and convention. And I'm also going to add a drawing date. So I could add, again, all sorts of other stuff in here. We have quite a list of information to pull in, or you can create any sort of custom stuff that may fit your particular workflow. If you do work packs or serial numbers of some sort, that type of thing, you can
TOD projects, VA projects.
Bingo. Yes. So all of that can be kind of custom built if you'd like. But in this case, I just need these 6 tags or so, 3 of which you'll see that I need to be able to kind of tell the document, or excuse me, tell the program where that text is on the page. So go ahead and click OK. And it's going to say, hey, I need to know where the sheet name is. Tell me where it's at. Okay. Sure. So I know the sheet name is down here in the corner of the title block, and I'm just going to click and drag and give it that rectangular region of the page that I want it to look. Same process we showed before. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's going to look for that rectangle in every single sheet I added. Now in this title block, the title sheet, it doesn't actually have a title block, so it's trying to find a name. It shows up as blank text. So I'm going to go ahead and skip it in this case, and I can go ahead and edit after the fact. So skip. Sheet number, same exact process. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag around the A00. Click OK. And it actually found it on that title sheet as well, because there was a sheet number in the bottom corner, which is nice. Now drawing date, same exact process. I'm going to go ahead and give it the drawing date. Now before I do, I'm going to give it some dummy information. Maybe I accidentally give it the project number, and it's actually going to flag me saying, hey, that's not actually a drawing date, try again. And so I'm going to do just that. I'm actually going to give it January 1st, 2016. Click OK. Now, architects don't actually work on January 1st, so that's not realistic.
You lose.
And I'm going to go ahead and, again, skip this title sheet. It looked for that particular region, didn't find it. So now I have this table of information that it basically automated over the course of my 6 clicks to be able to pull this information in. And it has everything from sheet name, sheet number, revision number, again, defaults to 0 because these are my originals. Discipline, it's pulling in based on the first letter of the sheet number, so A is architectural, E is electrical, G is general, as well as sheet type. So, for example, the number A1, 1 is going to be plans, 2 is going to be elevations, 6 is going to be schedules and diagrams, that type of thing. And that's all automated, again, based on AI conventions. And then drawing date, it automatically pulled it. Now, a couple of these cells are empty, and those are the ones that I skipped, so I can go ahead and pop those in. For example, title sheet here. The date, I'm going to go ahead and do a date picker of maybe March 1st is when they actually give us a title sheet. Click OK, and it's going to basically apply those at a document level. Now if I share these even outside of the set, it will have basically properties attached to this particular document, which you'll see here under the tags items here on the right-hand side. Now that's all well and good, but I'm not working in a vacuum with 0 revisions because I've never been lucky enough to work in a project like that. So architectural files here, I've been doing some work, placed some different comments and different things over here. As I get a revision of the sheet, I want those items to carry over. And that's just, you know, we talked about a workflow earlier, I forget who, maybe it was your suggestion, of I want to make sure my comments are being taken care of as revisions come over, that type of thing. And so I want to automate that process, and I also don't want people accidentally working on the old revs. So I'm going to have to supersede stamp all this information. Well, I can automate that process by adding new files. So I'm going to add some files from my disk. Instead of my originals, I'm going to pull in my Rev ones here. Now, in my Rev ones, not only do I have some architectural files, but I have some plumbing files as well as structural and landscape. And so those will likely be Rev zeros because I haven't had any landscape files yet, so they're going to automatically be default to Rev 0. In fact, it looks in those exact same regions I already defined for it, and it sees, hey, these 3 files here, I've already seen those sheet numbers, so these must be Rev 1s of those files. Now, maybe these plumbing files, I never had Rev 0 through 2, and these are actually Rev 3. I can go ahead and change those with this number picker as well. And again, all of this information can be kind of edited or changed as I go. As I click OK, it's basically going to prompt me, hey, those 3 that I think are revisions, are those actually revisions? Is that correct? Yeah, I want to be able to kind of quality assure that a 1.2.0 is the same as a 1.2.0. But it doesn't actually matter what the naming convention is. It's only seeing what's in that title block. So if the sheets come out with a whole bunch of gibberish for file names or page labels or anything like that, which I lived the life of having to read page label and read file name and everything. Miserable. But if it's going to be in the title block regardless, it's going to find that for me. So it's going to ask me, do I want to pull over those markups like we talked about, supersede stamp the old one? Hell yeah, do my job. So it'll replace those 3 pages, and you'll see I have a big red supersede stamp on that old rev. If I scroll down and look at that document, which I believe is this one here, no, sorry. Just okay. So this one, it pulled over the takeoffs. This was an item that someone did some estimating or takeoff on some quantities here. It pulled over those markups from the original, but the original now has a big old supersede stamp on it. So I could go ahead and confirm as I'm doing my estimation, for example, hey, are these still matching up with the building corners or anything like that? If there's an adjustment that needed to be changed, I could go ahead and make minor changes as opposed to starting from scratch when you're doing the estimation process. Now, I want to harness all of that information from that table that I created. This is basically a drawing log that's built for me. Why not use it? So I have the ability to actually export that to a drawing log. So export this drawing log process. I get to pick what columns I want to pull in. Maybe I don't need file name or file path. That's not something that's pertinent to me. Or page number, because all these are one-page documents. But I do want, sheet types and all sorts of other stuff. Who drew it? What date was it? All that information to automatically pull in. I get to export it to Excel or to PDF. So if you want to keep it in PDF format, I can go ahead and leave it, basically put that as the title sheet of my drawing set. Or in this case, I'm going to send it to Excel. I'm going to pin the date to this drawing log because I need to know what date this was printed, for example. And I can actually automate this process as well. So as I save this set, say for example I add new files and I click save, it can actually spit out a brand new drawing log automatically without me having to go through this dialog every single time. So as I click done, it's going to export, open it in Excel, and I can go ahead and sort and filter and work with all that data just the way I would want to. Now, for example, in this particular item, I have a column for superseded. It's a checkbox. It's actually wingding text for those of you that are computer geeks. But what that does for me is actually signifies whether it's in the old file, which would be a checkbox, or in a new file because it's not checked as superseded. All these blue cells are hyperlinks that actually take me to that location. So this is a superseded document. It should have a superseded stamp on it, right? I click on it. There you have it. It's stamp on it. I can go back to Excel, click on the one that is the not superseded version of that, and actually compare those two. So that same comparison dialog that I talked about before, I can right-click in the Sets window and be able to compare or overlay these files directly from the set. So if I need to see what changed and I've already built my set, I can go ahead and click compare and pull those files into the folder. All right, so that is tags and drawing log. I've got a few minutes for Revit, but I'll take some questions at this point. Cool. All right. So for those of you that are Revit users, we'll see if my Revit pulled up here. A lot of times, especially in the architectural world, you go through the process of building out rooms within Revit. Anyway, cross my fingers that my archaic laptop can actually open this file. And so when you build out these rooms and it has all this smart data, you know exactly where it's at, and you're going to go through the process of placing markups in a PDF later. You're going to want to know what room that markup's in, especially, for example, the idea of punch list. You want to know where your information is located as you do that. So we went through the process of actually allowing you to export those rooms into 2D paper space. So I can come into my settings here. This is where the plugin is located under add-ins. I can come into my change settings here. Of course, I'm not hooked up to my GNOME. And you have the option to actually export the rooms, which I've already gone through and created, to spaces in PDF. I'll show you what it looks like. I actually have the ability to create area measurements as well. So if I want to know what the floor space of this room is as it's modeled, I can run that entire process report and actually expedite my takeoff as well, and we'll show what that looks like. And I can extract openings as well. If there's a column that comes down in the middle of this room, I can subtract that floor space out. So as I click OK, I could select Create PDF. Now, again, the computer's going to crash if I end up doing that. But it's not actually all that intensive. It's just I'll show you what the final product is as well. So, for example, in the Revit sheets here, first floor plan, double click on it, takes a second to load. And I've built out all these rooms which you're seeing here. That same exact item is built out in Review, which if I come to my spaces dialog, you'll see that these are all built out for me. So if it's in here, you'll see that circulation room 147 corresponds to that circulation room with those exact dimensions just inside the face of the wall that I defined again within Revit. Now, if I go ahead and start placing markups, for example, again, I'm going to do the punch dialog here. Come over to my tool set. I can go ahead and start placing, maybe there's some deficiencies as I'm walking around the job site. Maybe a door closer needs an adjustment right there, and there's a door hardware that's missing here, or whatever it may be. I place all those markups, and it's actually going to populate down here in the markups list as well. So I can see exactly what room that's in. I'll be able to start harnessing that data as I start working with it. Now, I can also start utilizing all of the measurements of these spaces as well. So I'm going to create area measurements. Whoops. Create area measurements from here. And you'll see now that I have all these area measurements that are the exact same dimensions. And I can start harnessing, right? Select, stroke, which is fine. If I pull in the area column, for example, sort by subject, I can now see that I have 46,000 square feet of floor space in this particular building. Now I can go ahead and subcategorize these and say certain areas are carpet or hardwood and tile and all sorts of stuff. But I don't have to do that manually. Questions? Oh, also a neat one, if you weren't here yesterday, just select the spaces. If I want to pull in those area measurements themselves, right click, add it to a legend, and I can go ahead and place that legend directly on the interface and be able to harness all that information from here. Again, that can all be categorized out by carpet.
Is that area this brand only or the full sheet?
So this is just on this particular sheet. So this is a 1.1.0. This
If you had a set of 30 sheets full of that.
yes. So as long as in that particular case you would need it as a combined set, but yeah, you could do. Excuse me, all that totally as well. I know we're at 5:30 on the last day, so I know how it goes. I'll stick around for a few minutes. If anyone has questions, feel free to come up here and I'll answer them. But thanks everyone for coming. This was a fantastic event and great to meet you all.